Hey yogis, it's Tara, your yoga bestie, and I have got a great class for us to do today. This week's class means a lot to me because I'm dedicating it to my daughter, who was stillborn 3 years ago on the same day as International Dance Day. So we'll have dancer in one of our main sequences for her. Let's go ahead and start out in any position you like. We're going to start our practice on our backs, but if you prefer to check in with your breath from a seated position or child's pose, all are great options. So make yourself comfortable. And as you come into your space, determine where you want to place your body, where you want your arms and legs to be. And you might wiggle into that space to feel like you've settled in. And we'll close our eyes as we start to tap into our Ujjayi breath. So inhaling and exhaling through the nose. Letting go of any thoughts or worries so that you can just spend this next however long for your practice. So as you inhale, feeling the space below the navel start to lift. As it draws upward, feeling expansion in the belly, the side bodies, the rib cage, and your breath draws all the way up to where it lifts the collarbones. On our exhalation, we're going to feel our belly button draw in towards the spine, which will allow us to use all three parts of the lungs. And we'll create a rhythm where we might inhale to the count of 3 or 4, or 5 or 6. And then exhale the same, or maybe you have more space to elongate that exhalation. And while you're tuning into your breath, we've been talking about the chakras. We're currently in the solar plexus chakra, which is located at the core, your solar plexus. And it's associated with things like the color yellow, with fire, with self-esteem, with empowerment, with going with your instincts. And the affirmation that I'm offering up for our practice this week is, I wholeheartedly believe in myself. So you might inhale the words, I wholeheartedly, exhale, believe in myself. And if that resonates with you, feel free to use it throughout the practice. I'll also refer back to it. But a couple more breaths where we are as we inhale. Exhale. Big breath in. Exhale, let it go. And then from here, we'll get a nice full body stretch, or we'll make our way onto our backs if we are in a different position. And then we'll bring our hands together at our heart center, our Anjali Mudra, as we set our intention for our practice. And maybe that intention is using our affirmation of, I wholeheartedly believe in myself, or maybe something else resonates with you today. Please honor that. And let's bring our knees into our chest. We can give them a nice hug as we start to rock along the spine, or maybe find our happy baby pose. Could also place the hands onto the knees and make circles going in one direction and in the other. And then we're going to start out in a reclined pigeon pose. So we're going to bring the right ankle to meet that left knee. And this might be plenty. You might gently press the inside of that knee. If you need a little bit more and you have a block, you could place that underneath the left foot. Or you might come into a space where you bind by interlacing the fingers underneath the knee or across the shin. And just want to make sure that your head is down. So if your head is lifted, you might take a block or another prop to place underneath it so that you're not straining anything in the neck. And we could just kind of find some movement if we're in this variation. Otherwise, just focus your breath on the place in your hip that's talking to you. Two more breaths as we inhale. Exhale. Big breath in, filling up the belly. Exhale, let it go. Oh, there he is. There's our Lionel. So from here, we'll place that sole of the foot onto the mat if you lifted it. We're going to interlace our hands behind our head, letting our elbows come out to the sides. And then we'll reach our left leg up towards the ceiling. We'll take a big breath in. And as we exhale, bring that left elbow across to meet your right knee and try to keep those shoulders lifted as we lower those legs down to a hover and lift for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. From here, we'll bring that sole of the foot onto the mat. We'll lower the head as we reach our arms out to the sides, coming into a spinal twist. So just let your legs fall over towards the left. Maybe you reach for that ankle, keeping that knee up, or if you have a different version that feels better in your body, feel free to go there. Maybe you gaze past your right fingertips. Exhale. And then we'll bring our gaze and our legs back to center. You might even give them a little bit of a hug first before we set up for our second side. So we'll bring our left ankle to meet our right knee, coming into this variation of our reclined pigeon pose, where we know we can have a block underneath that foot. If we want to lift up that foot and the head lifts, place something underneath it. Otherwise, find your bound variation where you might use your elbow as leverage to push that knee a little bit further forward, or kind of find a little bit of a rock here. Big breath in. Exhale. One more big inhale. And exhale. So we'll release that. We'll bring the hands behind the head. We're going to reach that right leg up towards the ceiling, keeping our figure 4 shape. And then as we exhale next, we'll bring that right elbow across to meet our knee, keeping those shoulders lifted as we lower those legs down to a hover and lift for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Make our way into our reclined twist from here, letting those legs fall over towards the right, finding your variation. If you like this one, you can reach for that ankle, pulling the knee further forward. You're going to feel some more joy in the outer hip. Big breath in. Exhale. And then let's bring our gaze to center. We'll bring our legs to center. We can give them a nice squeeze as we start to rock and roll forward and back. So just finding a rhythm that feels good in your body. We'll eventually come into our down dog. So if you want to make your way to your tabletop first, coming onto your hands and knees, that's perfect. Maybe find some movement here, or so that when you're ready, we'll go right into our first down dog of the practice. So lifting up those hips nice and high and start to bicycle the legs out, or find any movement that feels good as you come into your first down dog of the practice. Big breath in. Exhale. And then as we inhale, shift it forward into your plank or push-up position, nice and strong. Inhaling. As we exhale, we'll start to slowly lower, maybe to a hover or all the way onto our bellies. Inhaling into your cobra, or maybe up dog if you're ready. And then we'll exhale into our down dog, lifting up those hips nice and high. And from that down dog, take a big breath in. Exhale. Let's bend those knees as we gaze forward. Walk to the top of the mat, or you can float to the top of the mat. We'll move into our forward fold, Uttanasana. And let's make sure that our feet are about hip distance apart. So 2 fists in between the feet, at least, maybe even wider than that if that feels good to you. And then find an arm variation you like. So maybe reaching for opposite elbows, hanging like a rag doll. Or you might bring the arms behind the back, interlacing the fingers. Whatever else might feel nice to you. I sometimes like to walk my hands from side to side, just breathing into those side bodies. Yeah, big breath in. And then on the exhale, release any arm variation you have. You can start to bring those feet in towards one another. And a slight bend in the knees as we come all the way up to standing. So coming into our mountain pose, you can draw those shoulders up, back, and down, really breathing into the sides. Big inhale. Exhale. And we'll inhale, reaching the arms up overhead. Gaze is lifted. Exhale, forward fold. So we can swan dive or bring those hands through heart center. Inhale, we lengthen halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. And then Plant the hands as you either step or float back, lowering or hovering. Inhaling into your cobra or up dog. Exhaling into your down dog. And let's take a big breath in here. Exhale. Bend your knees, we gaze forward as we step or float to the top. Inhale, lengthening halfway. Exhale, forward fold. Let's reverse. Reach it up, reach it back. Open up through the chest. Exhale into your forward fold. Inhale, lengthening halfway. Hands plant. We either step or float back, lowering or hovering. Inhaling into your cobra or up dog. Exhaling into your down dog. Big breath in. Exhale. And then let's bend those knees. We'll gaze forward as we step or float to the top. Inhale, lengthening. Exhale, forward fold. Reach it up and back. Exhale, bring it back forward. Inhale. Exhale, plant the palms as you step or float back, lowering or hovering. Inhaling into your cobra or up dog. Exhaling into your down dog. Full breath in. Exhale. Soften the knees. Gaze forward as you step or float to the top. Inhale, we lengthen. Exhale, forward fold. And let's reverse swan dive all the way up, reaching up and back. Exhale into your forward fold. Inhale, we lengthen halfway. Hands plant as we either step or float back, making our way to our down dog. And then once you find that down dog, feel free to stay here as a resting position, or maybe you want to come into a seated position for a moment, just kind of let that go. Check in with your breath. Great time to check in with our affirmation of inhaling, I wholeheartedly, exhaling, believe in myself. I wholeheartedly believe in myself. All right, so we're going to move on to our first main sequence of the practice, which is our peanut butter. So if you're new to my class, I break it up into two main sequences that we repeat, and then we bring them together at the end. So the first one's peanut butter, second one is jelly, and then they come together deliciously for one main sequence all at the end. So this first part you might want to watch. I'll walk you through it, and then we can do it together. But we're going to be coming into our down dog. And we'll lift up the leg, and we bring the right leg, and we'll bring that knee in towards our nose as we come into a figure four shaped down dog here. So from this space, we're going to be working that right hip down to a hover, kind of like we're in a side plank with a figure four like position with our legs. And then from that space, we'll bring that hand back down, and we'll move into a wild thing. All right, so let's go ahead and make our way to down dog, assuming you just watched that part. And we're going to go ahead and lift up the right leg, open up that hip, heel to behind, knee up towards the ceiling. Stay here, start to make those circles going in one direction, going in the other direction. And then as we inhale, straighten that leg. Exhale, knee draws to nose, and then we'll hook that ankle to create that figure four shape in our down dog. So try to press your chest towards your thighs. You can always have a bend in the knee and still do that same thing. So just listen to what your body needs right now. Big breath in. Exhale. And then we're swiveling that right hip down to our hover as we reach that left arm up. And then left hand comes down as we move into our wild thing. From that wild thing, we're going to bring that right hand down facing the top of the mat as we come into an active pigeon. So we're going to bring that right ankle over towards the left wrist. We're going to have those back toes tucked under, and we can come onto our fingertips kind of in a wide stance here as we lift up through the chest. And then as we exhale, we can come forward, letting those elbows come out to the sides. And feel free to stay here in this forward fold, or if you prefer to not stay in a static position, you can always lift and lower, which is kind of a nice variation. We'll all bring it forward from here, working that left hip crease down. Big breath in. Exhale. And then kind of shift into that right side. We're going to come upright. We're going to bring that right sole of our foot to the inner thigh of the left leg as we frame this leg, flexing through the left foot as we come into a forward fold. So you can always have a bend in the knee here too. You can always have blocks here if that's helpful, or any other props that might make this more accessible for you. And just allow your chin to draw in towards the chest. Nice long neck. Big breath in. Exhale. And then we'll make our way upright. We're coming into a supported wild thing or supported side plank. Right hand comes to the top of the mat and we lift up those hips. Left arm reaches up, and then go ahead and lift up that left leg because we're going to swing that foot all the way to the top of the mat. Soon as it plants, tuck your back toes under for sky archer. So it's kind of like triangle pose, the reverse. So those right toes are going to face the long edge of the mat. Left toes are going to face the top of the mat as we reach for that wrist and lean back. Big breath in here. And then as we exhale, gaze towards your back foot. We're going to pivot all 10 toes to where we're facing the back of our mat. Moving into dancer's pose, so we're going to kick towards our behind with that left foot as we reach for that foot or ankle. Can bring those knees together to begin with. Right arm can reach up, and we push into that hand to create our version of dancer's pose or Natrajasana. Inhaling. And then as we exhale, we make our way to mountain pose. So that's what we've got for our first main sequence. So we can make our way to our down dog by taking a vinyasa, or we can step it back. I'm going to reach my arms up overhead as we inhale. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lengthening. Hands plant as we make our way to our down dog. We'll go right into our other side. So now you are facing the opposite direction on your mat. Left leg is going to lift. We'll go ahead and open up that hip, heel to behind, knee up towards the ceiling. Stay right here. Start to make some circles going in one direction, going in the other direction. As we inhale, we'll straighten that leg. Exhale, knee draws to nose, finding that figure 4 down dog. So bring that ankle above that right knee as you start to push your chest back towards the legs. Big breath in. Exhale. And then swivel that left hip down to a hover as we reach the right arm up. Yeah, so you're going to feel that little extra stretch there. You might even find a little bit of movement. And then bring the right hand down for wild thing. So we're going to come on the ball of that left foot as we reach the arm overhead. Big breath here. Exhale, gaze towards your right hand, towards the back of your mat, setting up for active pigeon. So we're going to bring that left ankle over towards the right wrist, lifting up. And we're on our fingertips in that wide stance as we inhale. Exhale, bring it forward. And start to find some movement here or hold it as you come forward, just depending on how you're feeling about it today. And we'll all bring it forward from here, working that right hip crease down as we take a big breath in. Exhale. And then kind of sink into that left side as you come upright. We'll bring that sole of the left foot to the inner thigh of the right leg as we frame that right leg, coming into our forward fold here. Again, one side could be different than the other side, but the same options are there. So feel free if you need to soften the knee here, or if you need to bring some props for your hands here. One more big breath in. Exhale. And then let's make our way upright. Left hand is going to come to the back of the mat as we come into that supported side plank, where we lift up the right leg, and we're going to go ahead and bring it all the way to the back. Tucking those back toes under for our sky archer. So we're going to reach for that right wrist as we lean back. So those left toes are facing the long edge of the mat. Right toes are facing the back. And then as we exhale, gaze towards your back foot. We're going to pivot all 10 toes to where we face back forward on our mats, coming into our dancer's pose. So we'll find that right foot or ankle, draw the knees in towards one another, lifting up through the left arm as that foot pushes into the hand to create our dancer. Big breath in. And as we exhale, we'll release for mountain pose. All right, so let's make our way to down dog and we'll start to pick up the pace on this. Inhale, exhale, forward fold. Inhale, we lengthen, hands plant as we make our way to our down dog. All right, here we go. So inhale, right leg lifts. Exhale, bring that knee to nose as you find that figure 4 shape in your down dog. And then bring that right hip down to a hover. Left arm reaches up to wild thing. Inhale. Exhale, right hand comes down. Active pigeon. So have those toes tucked under, onto the fingertips as we lift. Exhale into our forward fold. We'll lean into that right side as we come upright, framing that left leg as we come into our forward fold here. And then let's lift up. Supported side plank, right hand comes to the top. We lift that leg and we swing that foot all the way to the top of the mat. Back toes tucked under for sky archer as we reach for that left wrist, lean it back. As you exhale, gaze down, pivot all 10 toes to the back, dancer's pose. Reaching for that foot. Big breath in. Exhale, release, arms reach. Exhale, forward fold. Hands plant, making your way to your down dog. Inhale, left leg lifts. Exhale, knee to nose, and we hook that foot to find that figure 4. We swivel that left hip down to a hover. And then right hand comes down as we move into wild thing, coming on the ball of that foot. Gaze to the back of your mat, active pigeon. Inhale, we lift. Exhale, bring it forward. Shift towards the left as you lift up, framing that right leg as you exhale into your forward fold. Our inhale is going to bring us into that supported side plank, where we lift up the leg, swing it all the way to the back. Left toes tuck under as we move into our sky archer. And then we'll gaze down at our back foot, pivot all 10 toes as we move into our dancer's pose. Full breath in. As we exhale, bring those feet together. You're doing amazing. Inhale, arms reach. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, we lengthen halfway. Hands plant as we make our way to our down dog. Inhale, right leg lifts. Exhale, knee to nose as we find that figure 4 down dog. Swivel the right hip down, and then left hand comes down as we come into our wild thing. Setting up for active pigeon, we bring that foot forward, and inhale, we lift the chest. Exhale, forward fold. Sink into the side so that we can come into our forward fold to the back of the mat. Right hand comes to the top of the mat as we lift. We lift the left leg, swing it all the way to the top. Back toes tuck under for our sky archer. Gaze towards your back foot, pivot all 10 toes to the back. We have our dancer's pose. And then mountain, arms could reach. Coming into our forward fold. Inhale, we lengthen. Hands plant as we make our way to our down dog. Inhale, left leg lifts. Exhale, knee to nose as we hook that ankle for our figure 4 down dog. Swivel that left hip down. And then right hand comes down for wild thing. Moving into that active pigeon. Inhale, we lift. Exhale, come forward. Lean into that left side. We're coming into a forward fold over that right leg. And then left hand comes to the back of the mat, supported side plank. Lift up that leg. So we bring it all the way to the back. Back toes tucked under for our sky archer. And then we'll gaze towards our back foot. We'll pivot all 10 toes to the front as we come into dancer's pose. And then we meet in our mountain pose. How are you doing? Awesome. That means we've done the first part, or the peanut butter portion. So we're now going to move on to the jelly portion of the class. But before we do that, just take a moment to check in with your breath. Get a drink of water, whatever else you might need. Maybe come to the top of your mat with me and say, I wholeheartedly believe in myself. Again, I wholeheartedly believe in myself. All right, let's move into our jelly. So we'll inhale, reaching those arms up overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, we lengthen. And we're going to keep our right foot here as we step the left foot back, coming into a runner's lunge. And we're moving right into a runner's twist. So left hand is down, right arm reaches up. From here, we're going to ground down through the back foot as we move into our reverse warrior. So reaching that right arm up and back, breathing into that right side of your body. So really finding some space by keeping a super strong and straight back leg. Maybe we go a little bit deeper into that forward leg. The more deep we go into it, the more you're going to feel along that right side body. Take a full breath in. And then as we exhale, cartwheel the hands down. So as soon as you cartwheel those hands down, push into the mat to lift up that right leg, because we want to bring that right knee towards our right tricep. And then we're bringing it across as we move into fallen triangle pose. So we're going to ground down through that back foot. We might find movement here by making some circles with the left arm and bending and straightening the right leg. And you can always come into a supported variation by bringing that knee down. So a little bit of a tricky transition. We're going to bend this back knee and we're going to take a step over. So left foot is on the mat, right foot is off the mat, and we're going to lean in towards that left side. So right arm comes overhead, breathing into that side body. And then we're going to push in the left foot to lift up our right leg as we move into our figure four chair. So a familiar position we've been in, just not with chair just yet. But that means we want to kind of shift back so our weight is in the heel. You can have your arms forward, you can have your hands to heart center, you can have your arms on your legs. Maybe you have blocks here for your hands. And if you're feeling playful, maybe you move into some variations like your flying pigeon. So if you have blocks, it's nice because it brings the floor closer to you. You might tuck that leg into the armpits and play with lifting up the back foot as you shift forward. But as you shift forward, be sure to really push the floor away at the same time. And if that's not your jam, this is a really excellent hip opener. Just keep shifting your butt back, sitting into that heel. We'll take a big breath in. And then as we exhale, step the right foot back, coming into lizard pose. So both hands are to the inside of that left foot. And feel free to lower that back knee down. Maybe find some little wiggles here. If there's space, you might bring your forearms down, working your shoulders back and your chest forward. You can always come into a quad stretch by reaching for that back foot, or it may be plenty just to bend that leg. If you're wanting to move into a little bit more of a bind, you can also bring that left shoulder underneath the knee. Maybe start to bind your arms around one another. And you can play with lifting up that back knee, or even moving into bird of paradise if that's in your practice. Could also come into an arm balance if that's in your practice. So lots of different places we can go to from our lizard pose. But take a big breath in. Exhale. And what's pretty awesome is that we're basically set up for our second side. So just pick up that knee. Right hand is down. Left arm reaches up as we find our twist. Stacking shoulder on top of shoulder. And then go ahead and ground down through that back foot. We're lifting up into our reverse warrior as we inhale, reaching that left arm over. So finding our spacing here. Try not to grip the mat at all with those toes. You'll probably notice I like to lift up my toes a lot so I can really find that ball mound of the foot, pushing the floor away. Inhale. And then as we exhale, cartwheel those hands down. As soon as the hands plant, push the mat away, knee draws to that left tricep. And then it comes across as we move into fallen triangle pose. So right foot grounds down. You can make some circles. You can bend and straighten the left leg. You can also come into that supported version by bringing that left knee down. Inhaling here, we go into that tricky transition where we exhale, bending the back leg, and we're taking a big step over. So right foot is on the mat and left foot isn't. We bring that left arm overhead as we Take a side bend, leaning in towards the right. Big breath in. Exhale, and then push into this right foot to lift up the left leg, coming into our figure four. So we sit it back to that heel. We can have our arms extended, hands to heart, arms on the legs. We can use our friendly blocks here. Maybe we're playing with our flying pigeon, seeing what happens. Big breath in. On our exhale, take a step back. With that left foot, we're in our lizard pose. So both hands to the inside of that right foot. Again, we have all those same options where we can lower the back knee down. You can play with lifting up that leg, maybe bring the forearms down. You can also bring your forearms onto props here. Maybe you're playing with that bind. Lots of great options to play with here to make it either stretchy or playful. And then we're gonna start to pick up the pace because we're already set up to go right into our other side. So let's go. So we'll pick up the back knee, left hand is down, right arm reaches up for our twist, and then ground down through the back foot as we inhale into the reverse warrior, reaching it up and over. Exhale brings those hands back down. Plant the palms, push into the floor as you bring that knee to your tricep, and then across as we move into fallen triangle pose. Back leg bends as we step it over, and we lift up our torso as we take that side bend to reach in the right arm overhead. Lift up the right leg, coming into your figure four, shoot your seat back, really sit into this. And then we step it back into our lizard pose, draw those shoulders back, chest forward. Second side, so inhale, left arm reaches up. Exhale, ground down for that back foot as you inhale into our reverse warrior. Exhale, hands plant, push into the floor, knee draws to tricep, and then across for fallen triangle pose. Back knee bends as we take a step over, and we're coming upright as we lean into that right side, left arm comes overhead. From here, we find that figure four chair, sit it back into your heel, and then step the left foot back, lizard pose. So think about drawing your shoulders back and chest forward. And then left hand is down, right arm reaches up. We ground down through that back foot as we inhale into our reverse. Exhale, cartwheel it down. Hands plant, knee to right, knee to left, to our fallen triangle pose. Bend the back knee, take a step over, side bend over towards the left as right arm comes overhead. Moving into that figure four chair, we sit it back into our heel. And then we step it back, lizard pose. It's just moving along, right? Last side here. So left arm reaches up as we inhale. Exhale, ground down for the back foot as we inhale into our reverse warrior. Exhale, hands come to the top, knee to left, to right, fallen triangle pose. Bend that back leg, take a step over. Side bend over towards the right. Funky chair, creating that figure four shape as we sit back. And then we bring that foot back for our lizard pose, where we can then find our down dog however we want to get there, which means we've made it through the jelly portion of the practice. So again, it's a great time to get a drink of water or catch your breath or just slow down. Maybe close your eyes and just allow that practice to sink in, because my favorite part of the practice is next. It's peanut butter and jelly time. All right, so before we make our way to down dog, bringing these two sequences together, just want you to tap into our affirmation of I wholeheartedly believe in myself. I believe in you too, so I know you've got this. Your body is ready. It's done all the work to get to this place. So let's go ahead and do it. We'll make our way into down dog. From our down dog, put a big smile on your face, give yourself your pep talk because you got this. Inhale, right leg lifts. Exhale, knee draws to nose as we hook that ankle to find our figure four. Swivel the right hip down to a hover as left arm reaches, and then bring that hand down as we come into our wild thing. From our wild thing, we go into our active pigeon. So we'll inhale, lifting up. Exhale, we bring it forward. Lean into the right side. We're facing the back as we frame our left leg. And then we lift right back up. Right hand comes to the top of the mat, supported side plank. So lift up that left leg here, swing it all the way to the top, setting up for sky archer. So back foot tucks under as we reach for that left wrist. And then we gaze to the back foot as we pivot all 10 toes for our dancer's pose. From our dancer's pose, we're making our way into our runner's twist. So big step back, left hand is down, right arm reaches up. And then we ground down through that back foot as we inhale into our reverse. Exhale, cartwheel those hands down. Hands plant, knee to right, and then left as we come into our fallen triangle pose. Back knee bends as you take a step. Right arm comes overhead. Figure 4 chair. Sit it into that heel. And then we step it back for our lizard pose. So both hands come to the inside of that left foot. And from this space, we make our way to our down dog. So if you like a vinyasa, cool. If you want to just step it back, also cool. But you want to know what's really cool? The first side is done. So let's get to it. Last side, you got this. Inhale, left leg lifts. Exhale, knee to nose as we hook that ankle for our figure 4. Swivel that left hip down to a hover. And then bring that right hand down as we move into our wild thing. From our wild thing, we find active pigeon. So that left ankle goes to the right wrist. Inhale, lift. Right, left. Exhale, forward fold. And then shift into that left side. Lift up as we frame our right leg for our forward fold. Left hand comes to the back of the mat, coming into our supported side plank, where our right leg lifts, and then we swing it all the way to the top, which is really the back. Don't tuck those toes under for sky archer. From sky archer, we'll gaze to our back foot, pivoting all 10 toes towards the front as we move into our dancer's pose. From here, without flinging, we step it back to our runner's twist. So right hand is down, left arm reaches up, and then we ground down through that back foot so that we can inhale into our reverse warrior. Exhale, hands come down. Push into the mat as you bring that knee to your left, to your right, moving into fallen triangle pose. Bend that back leg, take a big step over, and we'll come into a standing side bend, reaching that left arm overhead. From here, we go right into our figure 4 chair, sit it back into your heel, and then we step that left foot back for our lizard pose. Option to make your way to down dog however you like from this space. Knowing that once you've come to that space, you did it, yay! I'm so proud of you. Check in with your breath. If you're still in down dog, cool. Maybe lower the knees for a moment, just slow down your breath. Feel accomplished here for a moment because you did it. You made it happen, which is so awesome. We're gonna meet on our seat with our feet. Maybe we have our blocks to one long edge of the mat so that we have them available to us if we want them. But before we make our way all the way onto our backs, we're gonna come into a reverse table. So we're gonna bring our hands back behind us. I like my fingertips in line with my toes, but you may like it somewhere else, so feel free to play around with that. Pushing into the feet, we'll lift up the hips, keeping the gaze either forward, up at the ceiling, or we can drop that head back. Call this our anti-chaturanga pose, so really breathing into the shoulders of the chest. Bring your arms forward as you draw your chin in towards your chest and start to slowly make your way onto your back. And as you come here, you might bring it to where your feet are about the width of the mat and just kind of windshield wiper those legs from side to side, checking in with the body, because this is a great time to just see if there's anything else that you might need from your practice. Maybe as you're coming into these windshield wipers, you decide to hold space coming into a twist, maybe even placing your foot on the inside leg. You can always play with that other one. Or maybe you have a reclined inversion. You could also place blocks underneath you if you wanted to come into some supported version of it. Legs up the wall is always a nice inversion. bring that blood supply to the upper part of our body without our heart having to work so hard for it to get there. And just feel free to find any other poses that you need to feel complete in your practice. You might even come into the pose I'm in right now, legs up the wall with a wall, and use that as your final pose of the practice and stay there in Shavasana. So please, no rush, but when you're ready, the next place we'll come to will be our final pose of Shavasana. And as you come into the space, I ask that you take up so much space on your mat, because our practice is a reflection of our lives off the mat. So the idea is if we take up space here, we take up space once we go out into the world. And then take a moment to have so much gratitude for yourself for showing up. So much gratitude for all the hard work that you just put in. So much gratitude for this feeling that is a result of those first two things. And be so proud of yourself because you did amazing. You were so amazing. Know that I'm so proud of you for making this commitment to yourself and your mat. And for trying some funky stuff, playing around, allowing yourself to be playful. So now just allow the breath to be soft and your body to be still. Shavasana. As usual, feel free to stay in Shavasana as long as you like. When you're ready, you can reach the arms up overhead, extending the legs out in front of you as you awaken to this new body. We'll bring our knees into our chest as we roll to one side in our fetal-like pose, our pose for new beginnings. And I wholeheartedly believe in myself. Make your way to seated, or we'll bring our hands to heart center, our Anjali Mudra as we tuck our chin under. And I just want to thank you so very much for joining me today, for making your way to your mat. It's always an honor to be your guide. Until next time, namaste. Bye.